here was a kind of a role reversal. James had made films in England and spoke English, and you were the fish out of water. You were the person that was put into an environment that was unfamiliar, and without your team, with a team that was given to you. So, what was the experience of that like for you? Did you have trepidation, or were you excited to have this experience?
I was excited to have the experience, but it was a tough one, you know, because I had to prove that I was a cinematographer and not a bad one. All this English crew, they were looking at me just like if I was coming back from March with this French guy coming, because I was alone. I came alone. My only friend on the set was Jim.
And so, how did you win their trust or confidence?
By the quality of the work, little by little, you know. And but it's like a challenge, because they wait for you. They want to see how you do. Why the cameraman is coming, the cinematographer is coming from France? We have so many good ones in England, which is true, of course.
And also, you had to adjust to a different system, a different way of working.
Yes, but I had a few friends, cinematographers in England, and they would advise me. They gave me the gaffer, they gave me I forgot comment on dit le machiniste, the grip. All those people had been recommended to me by good English cinematographers, good friends, like Peter Solditsky and so on, and a few. And so then you understand also that it's a family. The filmmakers are it's a big family.
And some families are happier than others, but so James, why did you choose Pierre for Maurice?
Well, two reasons. I chose Pierre for Maurice. Well, first I was very, very happy with Quartet. And then I thought it would be interesting to bring a foreign cameraman into England, and particularly, well, a French cameraman, but any foreign cameraman almost, to shoot in all those buildings and places and cities and so forth that have been shot a million times by English cameramen, and which we know so well. Like the colleges of Oxford and Cambridge, they've been in how many films they've been in? Well, it was, I thought, to have a new eye on the English landscape and in English buildings and places like Cambridge, I thought that would enhance the film. And then there was a second reason. I felt that I wanted a somewhat more worldly cinematographer who would not be put off by the subject matter of the film. I felt that it might make, there's a certain kind of very male kind of English cameraman type and camera crews that might not be so happy about the kinds of scenes we had to shoot in Maurice. And they'd feel uncomfortable, and feeling uncomfortable, they wouldn't do their best. And particularly if the cameraman's not doing his best, where are you? So that was the other reason. I thought we needed on that film to have, as I say, a more worldly point of view from the principal technician, and that was the other reason. And I think also, I mean, I had just made a very successful film which looked fabulous, A Room with a View, with Tony Pierce Roberts, and he would certainly have been good, but I didn't ask him, and I don't think it was just because he had another job and couldn't do it. I think I had this feeling that Tony might be, he might be uncomfortable with the subject matter of the film. I wouldn't feel that. Later on, I made many more films with Tony, and then I wouldn't have later on I wouldn't have had that feeling probably, but I'd only worked with him once.
And to ask a question I asked about Quartet again, was there between you a discussion about an overall look or feeling that you wanted in the visuals?
On Morris?
Yeah.
Well, I did say that I wanted a cooler palette
Yes.
than we had, and I wanted to have more. I wanted it to be more somber. And Room with a View was a very sunny kind of film with bright colors, and it was Italy and so on. And I felt in a film that's really about oppression, and then you're making it in a place with oppressive weather, that's a challenge, and something you could make something wonderful with that. And that's why I wanted a cooler palette of blues and grays and deeper greens and so on, not something bright and pretty.
I mean, the lighting is much more dramatic, but you need the drama. It's such a strong situation. So much emotion, strong emotion.
It expresses the interiors of the characters. It's an expression of their interiority.
But once again, Jim does not tell you do this and do this and do that. I mean, he creates a kind of mood, and the result is that you understand what you have to do, what he expects.
I think we only had one sunny day on Morris, if I remember. It was the day of the cricket match.
Oh,
That's the only
cricket
day
match.
that was sunny.
because we did not know, neither do
Nobody,
We
none
don't
of the
know
main
nothing-
people
we
knew
know
anything
nothing about
cricket.
We were trying to understand. We could not understand.
No.
And the people
I'm
have been
amazed that
the way
and even the
did film
assistant director
cricket
didn't.
game.
He was an American. He didn't know about cricket. So how we got that cricket match together, I'll never know.
It's supposed to be very well, very
We didn't
right.
we
you know?
made one tiny mistake, I'm told.
We had two cameras, I remember, and we improvised this cricket game, and it happens to be very good.
Well, you had at least English actors playing cricket.
Yes,
I
yes.
know exactly. It's like American actors playing baseball. I had a similar situation with Slaves of New York. We had to do a baseball game. Well, every actor that was playing in that baseball game, including all the actresses, they all played baseball. Every single one knew what to do. But I had never been that keen on baseball. And I'm the sort of person, when the ball comes towards me, I run away. It was
I don't know
it was
who
a
did
crazy
it, because
baseball game in that film.
When I saw it again last night, I think it's quite a good sequence, and it seems to be done by very professional people.
Most of the cast in Morris are people really at the beginnings of their careers, maybe first time had James Wilby been in anything before? Hugh Grant had been in a student film.
He was in a student film, and that's the only, but no. Though Hugh Grant was very much a public performer, because he was a stand-up comic. Most people don't know that. He was. And so he had a sort of stage presence. And, both Rupert Graves and James Wilby they were stage actors, basically. You know, young actors, when they get their first big break, they jump in like mad, and they
They've
seldom.
been working seriously. No one knew that they'd been rehearsing Hugh Grant and I forgot the name. I'm sorry.
James
James. They've been working and rehearsing, but we did not know. Jim did not know. I did not know, and they had to get acquainted physically, the one with the other, and we were surprised.
Yeah.
Oof.
In this country, when men who are playing gay parts have to kiss each other, there's a kind of thing like that. You can see it. It's just there. In England, they just kiss lustily. And these guys were all straight. They just jumped right on each other, and there was not a trace of any kind of embarrassment or anything like that.
it's interesting that actually the cast member who was gay, Denholm Elliott, plays a very heterosexual, homophobic man. I'd be fascinated to know what his feeling was about this film.
We had to fly Denholm Elliott from New York across to London, and he came on the Concorde. He was only available for a couple of days. And then what did he find himself doing? But he was having to examine a naked James Wilby, and which he did, wonderfully cleverly, and then fly back again, like the next day back to New York. That was just to come over, look down at James Wilby to see if he was indeed sick or had some problem, and then get on a plane and go back.
That must have been one of the last things that he was
I
in
think
before
so.
he died.
Yeah, I think that I don't think he did much after that. But I had no idea that he was gay. And no one had ever said anything to me, and I didn't know that. So when I heard that he died of AIDS,
I didn't know he died of AIDS.
he did, and I was very surprised.
Did you both feel a certain pressure in making the film because of the importance of the subject? There really hadn't been a film like this that I can think of. So did you feel a certain kind of pressure between you that you had a responsibility in a certain way?
Not really. I didn't feel that. I mean, when we suggested to King's College, well, of course, we were suggesting after the success of A Room with a View, but when we said to King's College that we'd like to make Morris, they were not. They didn't think maybe that was. They weren't so happy about that. Why couldn't we have picked another book? And because they thought that it was Forster's least good novel, and that perhaps it would have the film might bring his reputation as a writer down or some sort of thing. So the only hesitation was about that area. It was in the area of literary criticism and so forth, and the reputation of a dead writer and that kind of thing. But it was never, ever about the subject matter as such. I mean, no one ever, and when the film came out, I think people didn't dare, because when it came out, it was at the height of the most terrible part of the AIDS epidemic. So I think people didn't dare say anything, really. And the film had a good response, a good critical reception, and did very well at the box office. So, but no, there wasn't any anything like that, really.
As far as I am concerned, I was discovering a world which I was totally ignorant about. So it was like all those scenes to me when I said, do I see or do I dream? And this is what this film became little by little more important. And as I said yesterday, for the first time, because a cousin of mine came to see me, much younger than I. He had seen the film and he came to see me and said, Pierre, I will tell you what I can't say to my parents. So to me it was also a very strong experience, because I know homosexuals, but now I understand them. I know them better after this shooting than I could imagine before.
There's a line in the film when someone suggests, Ben Kingsley suggests, well, maybe you should go and live in France or Italy where they're more accepting of these things. But in fact, it seems that at least at that time in France, gay life was as hidden. Ignored.
But don't forget that the film is related to a story of the Edwardian period. I mean, it's not a contemporary story.
Did you feel that you were able to make Morris at this time, in a way, because of the success of Room with a View? It gave you the opportunity to do something that maybe at another time would have been more challenging to get the money for or get the support.
Well, we didn't when we were just coming off this huge success of A Room with a View, so you would have thought that would have been we could do almost anything we wanted, which was really true. We had all kinds of offers from Hollywood and that kind of thing to do all sorts of things. And it was not that easy to raise the money for Morris, because I guess people who, I don't think it was the subject matter, but I think they just looked at the script and the story and thought, well, this is not very commercial. I think. We had it wasn't an easy thing to set up.